He was the king of rock and roll, adored by millions, the master of a musical empire. But in the shadows, Elvis Presley held an unexpected, dangerous, and nearly forgotten connection. The Outlaws of the Asphalt, the legendary biker clubs that roared like armies of steel under the blazing sun. Elvis Presley, in the 1960s, was not just a singer, he was a cultural phenomenon that crossed borders and generations. Every record he released turned to gold. His movies filled theaters with hysterical crowds, and his mere presence on stage was enough to trigger human avalanches. To millions, he was not just a man, he was a living myth, a symbol of youthful rebellion that defied the established norms. But behind that impenetrable image, Presley carried an invisible weight. The fame that had elevated him to the summit had also become his prison. The press attacked him relentlessly, accusing him of being a bad influence, of inciting immorality, of corrupting an entire generation with the sway of his hips. Every public performance was scrutinized under a magnifying glass, every gesture questioned. Elvis lived trapped between two worlds. On one side, the untouchable idol fabricated by Hollywood studios, dressed in glittering suits and scripted roles. On the other, the boy from Memphis who only wanted to sing with soul, feel the music in his blood, and live authentically. That need to prove to himself that he was still a rebel pushed him to seek something more, something that would give him back the taste of freedom. And in that search, he discovered a parallel universe. Men who answered to no producers, no executives, men who lived not from applause or headlines, but from the roar of their engines on the open road. The outlaws on two wheels. The only ones capable of reminding him that beyond fame and fortune, he could still simply be Elvis, a free man.
Legend says it all began far from the spotlights, in the darkest bars of Memphis, where the smoke of tobacco and the smell of beer mingled with the rumble of motorcycles parked in rows like sleeping beasts. Elvis, tired of official banquets and sequin suits, sought a place where no one treated him like a god, but as a man of flesh and bone. There he found them, a group of bikers hardened by the southern sun, men with stern eyes, faded tattoos, and worn-out leather jackets. To them, Elvis was not the cover of a magazine, nor the star of a Hollywood film. He was just another guy who understood what it meant to live fast, unchained, with the wind slamming against his face. The king of rock was fascinated by that wild universe. The roar of engines echoed like an anthem of freedom. The smell of gasoline and leather seeped into his skin, and the dusty road stretched out like an eternal destiny. There were no protocols, no managers, no cameras, only the brotherhood of those who defied the world on two wheels, and Elvis fit right in. He rode motorcycles with them, shared drinks and laughter, and for a few hours forgot that outside there was an army of photographers waiting for his every move. For those outlaws, Presley wasn't the king. He was simply Elvis, and that, more than fame, earned their loyalty. They didn't want autographs,
favors, or money. They wanted respect. They wanted brotherhood. Then came the most epic moment, the scene that would remain etched as urban legend in collective memory. The sun was setting on the horizon when, in the distance, a rumble began to grow, louder with each second, like thunder rolling closer without pause. It was no storm. It was thousands of motorcycles advancing in formation, a metallic army dominating the highways on their way to an Elvis Presley concert. The police, unable to contain the tide, could only watch. Their sirens drowned beneath the roar of engines, and the officers, outnumbered and overpowered, knew it was useless to try to stop that wild procession. The streets transformed into an endless river of steel and leather, the asphalt glowing under the headlights of machines roaring like beasts in freedom. The crowd awaiting the concert could hardly believe their eyes. Men, women, young and old, stepped aside to make way for the caravan. Some screamed in excitement, others looked on in fear, but no one could turn away. It was as if two worlds that were never meant to meet marched together toward the same destiny. And then, on stage, Elvis appeared, dressed in his shining white suit, illuminated by spotlights. He looked almost celestial. But that night he was not alone. The roar of thousands of motorcycles parked around the venue thundered like an infernal chorus, merging with the hysterical screams of the crowd. The clash of cultures was absolute. The royalty of rock joined with the royalty of the asphalt in a spectacle never seen before. That day was not just a concert, it was a manifesto, a declaration of power that spilled beyond music to become something greater, almost political, almost mythical. It was Revolution Live, the untouchable idol embracing the outlaws of the road and together defying everything established. A night when Elvis Presley ceased to be just a singer and became a symbol of shared freedom.
The sensationalist press reacted with fury. Headlines screamed warnings. The King of Rock among criminals. Elvis allied with gangsters. Conservative columnists accused him of glorifying delinquency, of endangering the youth that already followed him blindly. To the moralists of the time, that union was a scandal, a sacrilege that could destroy his reputation. But what the critics saw as alarming, the youth saw as magnetic. For the first time, they watched their idol standing not with politicians or executives, but with those who represented the purest, most dangerous form of freedom, the bikers. In that union, they found a silent but powerful message. Elvis did not bow to the system's rules. Popular culture took immediate note. Leather jackets ceased to be a marginal symbol and started becoming fashion. Motorcycles appeared in films, music videos, and magazine covers, and the biker aesthetic began to infiltrate rock like a shadow that could not be separated. Without realizing it, Presley was planting a seed, a spark,
that would forever bind the roar of electric guitars to the roar of engines. From that moment on, the open road and rock and roll became tied together as two forms of the same rebellion, an alliance that decades later still lives on.
Perhaps Elvis Presley never wore a patch on his back, but he understood what bikers had always known, that brotherhood cannot be bought, that freedom comes with a price, and that the road belongs only to those who dare to live unchained. If this story surprised you, subscribe now and join us for the next revelation, because behind every idol, there's a secret that still roars in the dark.